Just-in-time hasn't been confined to the motor industry, so Wiltshire Plastics Company was one of the first in Britain to try the technique. This is extruded plastic tubing. They make 35 million metres of this stuff every year here at Raytheon in Swindon. It's interesting material, widely used in the motor and the aircraft industry because it's tubing with a very particular property. Once wiring or some other component has been inserted inside here, it can be shrunk to a predetermined size or shape to fit snugly. This is in effect plastic with a memory. Let me show you a typical example. Here's one connector, one little piece of insulation, which slips easily over the device. Now, industry can treat this with heat. In this case, we're using hot water to produce this sort of result. A shrink-wrapped piece of insulation fitting snugly round the connector. Now, getting from base plastic granules to a plastic with a memory requires a great many manufacturing processes. Here at Raytheon, they give their products lots of added value, and the last thing they want is to have them hanging around on the shelves collecting dust. They want to get them out to the customer. They want them to make money for them. That's why Raytheon was so attracted to just-in-time management. But as they cut their inventory, things got worse rather than better. Manufacturing costs shot up, orders were delayed. Just-in-time seemed to magnify everyday problems, causing confusion and frustration on the shop floor. Then, in 1985, a man called Hollywood arrived. David Hollywood, a flamboyant Scot who'd worked for Raytheon in America. He is a dedicated disciple of just-in-time, or JIT, as he calls it.
We'd been working on JIT for about a year, and we were getting frustrated with the lack of success. And people were questioning whether this was really the kind of thing we should be trying to do.
Why did you not cut your losses and run at that stage? Why did you persist?
Well, from what we had learnt, and we felt that it was absolutely key to our future success, and that we'd seen it be successful in other companies overseas, and we saw no good reason why it shouldn't be successful here.
Can we check with the customer on the delivery situation? Is it an overdue order?
Well, it'll be a customer order, so I'll check.
One of the keystones to our success was the setting up of a daily meeting where we took representatives of all the functions, quality, manufacturing, engineering, and on a daily basis sat down with an analysis of where our time had gone and what materials we had used.
Exactly what happened last night. The specs we had issued, the tooling.
With the introduction of the daily meeting, we immediately started to build a team approach, and people could see that we were getting rid of the problems for once and for all, rather than the same problem reoccurring all the time. So that helped morale.
Getting through a lot of work there.
And we had some early successes, which always helps. And then lastly, I was able to assure the workforce that as these improvements went on, it would be easier to attract investment for new equipment in the plant.
The new investment included buying extra machinery, which means they can now run operations in parallel. While one extruder is up and running, a second is being set up in readiness. And setup times are a key issue here. They've got to be short for a just-in-time operation to be economic. Once it took 1.5 hours to set up one of these machines. Now it takes just 15 minutes.
We used to have to, and still do, dry the compound the granules of compound which you saw, which go into our tubings before we extrude them. Now, in the old days, we would have said that was part of the setup process and would be done in line between finishing running one product and starting another. But we've taken that process entirely offline, and so we can be drying the compound for the next run whilst we are continuing to produce good product on the machine. That saved, at a stroke, a major element of setup time.
Improved efficiency and extra machinery mean Raychem can now handle more orders. In other words, they have greater capacity.
Capacity is a key issue. Firstly, you need to have a balanced plant. If you have a bottleneck in the plant, you've got to try to clear that, and immediately you clear that, you create another bottleneck. Our findings have been that to try and introduce JIT into a plant that is near to full capacity is extremely difficult. You want excess capacity. However, a lot of that excess capacity gets created by the efficiencies and improvements that you've created elsewhere in the JIT program.
Never forget, waste is the third of the things that need to be avoided. In Japanese, muda.